This is Curtis coming back at you from Aceperhead Studios, doing more sports talk, football, all the way. Now that I'm doing this and not just writing for the Finns, I've had to branch out and expand my horizons and look to other teams and other divisions to really explore and to be interested in enough to cover. And I tell you, AFC East, not because it's the Finns, is a very exciting division. Bills, Patriots. I think the Dolphins are going to get there. I think they're in competitive form. Jets, they're getting there, but they're not really ready yet. And then I was looking at the AFC North. Browns, Ravens, Steelers, Bengals. That's almost 4 quality teams that are ready to compete. But then as I looked over to the NFC West, I became even more excited because the level of talent through all the units, through all the teams, was just so impressive. I watched all the division games. Couldn't believe some of the games were very exciting, very close, a few upsets. It was, as a football fan, a very fun time. And I think the AFC East is competitive, but it's like in a second tier compared to the AFC North and the NFC West. Those two divisions, it's just going to be such brutal, fun football. And so, the NFC West is going to be a wild, wild West this year, no doubt. And I think, given what's gone on in your division, it might be the premier division. Now, it's not great news for some fans of that division who want their team to get a clear road to the playoffs. It's like, you always hear you got to be the best to beat the best. But, it feels a little bit better sometimes when you got an easy road like the Patriots did for all those years straight into the playoffs. But whatever. All 4 teams, as I went over them, I watched the games, really try to get a familiarity with the players. It's one thing you see stats and highlights, but when you watch the games themselves, it helps you really see it more clearly. So then I dug into what was the offseason moves, PFF, stats, the whole thing, trying to just still cursory, still on the surface level. But I really liked all the moves that all 4 teams made. I think there was just 4 smart GMs. Some fans of that particular team may be a little upset here or there at something, but from the outsider, some of the moves, maybe they were a little risky, but they had to be done. But I thought they were good off seasons for all 4 teams. All right, so really, I don't see a clear-cut top dog. And obviously, Seattle, you have to give them their respect for staying in there so long. 49ers have all that talent, but Jimmy G is just too fluky. It's a good player, but just not good enough. And Trey Lance, we don't know what Trey Lance is doing, but there's potential there. So, 49ers have a great team. That quarterback position's unsettled. And so Wilson being as good as he is, with just a quality long-term leadership, you have to give Seattle the top dog status, like this. 49ers possibly, are there. But the Rams, all the games I was watching, I was like, what's going on, man? But they only had a quarterback. So, they got Stafford in. Been trying to watch a little film of Stafford. Watched him a couple of years ago. Kind of lost track of him. But I watched a few of his games with the Lions last year just to so I can make a somewhat decent evaluation. The guy's got a cannon. I think he clearly has, he's not the most mobile quarterback, but clearly has a gun. And I think that's going to be a huge X factor. The Rams have so much talent, but that quarterback position has been killing them for 4 years now or something like that. So while the Seattle has that little bit of edge, 49ers are a very well-built team with construction around the quarterback is a little curious. The Rams they had to do what they had to do. And I think Stafford gives a huge X factor to a team that's pretty well built. And it could be very dangerous. And then there's Arizona. Watching them, they were spunky. I saw them may have a few upsets early in the season. I saw Murray, a little bit of his deep balls. It's still not there yet. He's still a work in process. But I tell you the truth, the development, his patience, his ability to protect himself on the run and to pick up his yards, but not to compromise himself like Lamar Jackson does. I think it's a really good sign that your team, even though they haven't had grand success yet, you can feel it, the momentum going forward. And really, as a football fan, I would love to see Lamar Jackson take a page out of Kyler Murray's book. Not to say, Jackson's not as good. Just the style of play, the play of being smart, the facilitating of the football and not trying to carry the whole thing. I think Murray is a very mature quarterback. And I think, it's going, he's being developed really well. And this is a long-term process. By year 4 or 5, you got to expect that a lot more growth is going to come in. And if he can stay healthy, keep his knees healthy, keep his body healthy, he could start vying. There's a little bit of Wilson in him, but Wilson is just really special. Some of those deep balls that Wilson had, just really, really special. Sloppy sometimes, though. So, there's a quarterback situation going on there where nobody's clearly out of the picture. And then you keep going. You go to the O-line, Seattle. I like the addition of Gabe Jackson. Pair him up with Damian Lewis and Dwayne Brown. It's quality front. Like when you look over their PFF rankings and you look at, a lot of the talk of Wilson not being happy with his O-line, there's truth to it. Some of the pass blocking, but the run blocking was pretty good. There was times when you guys were just dominating, forcing your will on teams. And so that's a pretty good line there I think Gabe Jackson really helps you out a lot. And San Fran, Trent Williams is Trent Williams, man. This guy he's generational talent. At this age, for him to do what he's doing, to play at the level he's playing, that's generational talent. What a shame the Skins had him get that infection and wasted a couple of years. This guy is super duper, man. And then, Tomlinson's good center, McGlinchey's another tackle. So it's another quality offensive line. Then the Rams, Whitworth, Harvenstein, Corbett. That's, I'm watching the game and there's some quality pass rush. And I was so surprised when the Rams were playing the 49ers that there wasn't more pass rush on the quarterback. And I realized how good these offensive lines are. So, you talk about 3 quality offensive lines. And Arizona with DJ Humphries and Rodney Hudson, it's a developing line. I'd like to see him add more to that because I think they're a tier below the rest of the division. And offensive line is obviously, critical. I'm like a big believer in that. The time of possession gives the skills, boosts the skills, the quarterback. It's all about the offensive line play. So, but, AZ is still in developmental phase, but I do think they're developing very nicely. Then you go to running backs. Carson is a beast, 5'10", 222 or something. Just runs with authority, good movement skills. And, 49ers, Mostert, he was so small, man. I was totally like, he's like a scat back almost. But he runs with such authority. He plays much bigger than his 197. And, when it was an early game, I think it was against Arizona, he took a little pass over the middle and he took it for almost 80 yards. And he has excellent speed. It's not greatest skills, but he's got excellent heart. He really started to make a fan of me the more I watched him. Very impressed with them. Rams have absolutely the best tandem in the division with Henderson and Akers. And I think that's going to go a long way for Stafford. That excellent offensive line, quality run game, the ability to play action, to buy time, to have a second threat to the defense. I think that's really going to play big for the Rams. And, the Cards, they got, my guy, Kenyon Drake came last year. And he's hot and cold. His pass blocking is a little off. Sometimes he fumbles a little bit. Quality player, though. He made some big plays for you. I was watching. I was happy to see that. But you guys are a little short. Cards are definitely a little short in the running back position. But The talk in the draft was that Waddle was the next Tyreek Hill. It's not true. It's not. It's a bad comp. I don't know how people get a comp like that for him. It's like almost ridiculous. Deshaun Jackson is the far more accurate comp for Waddle than Tyreek Hill. But Randall Moore, who was picked up in the second round by the Cardinals, is a far better comp for Tyreek. And he had a 42 and a half vertical, 4.2 something 40, and he's built like a running back. And that's the way Tyreek Hill is. If you look at him, when you look at Waddle and Jackson, they're smaller guys. You look at their thighs, they're receivers. Moore, though, I think, he's not a pure running back, but you're going to be able to see him come out of the backfield. He's going to be able to add to some of that running game. And, I'm excited to see him pairing up with all the talent you got with Hopkins and Murray and stuff like that. So I think you did add a little help. Still, again, second tier when you look at this guy, Randall Moore, is very intriguing. Just studying him, watching the film, and is very, very intriguing player. And as a Finn fan, it bothers me because we paid 2 firsts for Waddle, and you paid a second for Moore. But that's neither here nor there. And then you move, and it's like you keep going to squad after squad, and for the most part, every team in the division has something to offer. Some more than others. But you go to the receiver, you got Hopkins, AJ Green, who's not AJ Green anymore, but still, that's a second. That's a nice little pickup, It's weird not having Fitzgerald on the team anymore. He's still, I wonder if you guys will bring him back at some point. It's kind of really weird. But I know he's tailed off like the last 2 or 3 years. But quality, you got the best receiver in the division on Arizona, so very top heavy. Hopefully AJ Green rounds that out a little bit. Then the Rams, Cooper Kupp, a little thin. I can't remember. I totally forgot. Somebody in your division got Deshaun Jackson, didn't they? I forgot to write that down. I forgot. Somebody got Deshaun Jackson, and he only had like 220 yards last year, but it's going to be interesting. That guy's going to make a couple big plays for a team. I should have wrote that down. Sorry about that, guys. A little sloppy. Anyway, Rams, Cooper Kupp, 15th best in the league, quality player. I think with the run game, though, and maybe development, because there's a huge developmental squad on the Rams. They have loads of receivers. So, maybe some of these guys will step up, but I think Stafford will definitely be able to elevate the play of the receivers. Thin, Kupp's good, but thin for the rest of the teams. Then 49ers, Debo and Ayuk. Ayuk. Sorry, I haven't watched the 49ers in a few years. A friend of mine was a big 49er fan, so, I started watching the play. Quality. I like the way Debo picks up a lot of extra yards with those reverses and, kind of a little bit of trick plays. Two quality receivers, not top of the line, but depth. And then, of course, you add Kittle, and I think that's going to play big. A couple times last year, I was watching Jimmy G it was one of the early games. He left him out to dry and messed his knee up. And he had to walk off the field. So, again, Jimmy G, man, I really hope Trey Lance works out for you. Hate your 49ers for beating me when Dan Marino was playing, but, Debo's a quality player. Ayuk is a pretty good player. Kittle's, 4th best in the league or something like that. And then there's the Hawks. And, I watched Lockett, highlights and stuff like that. It's a couple of games here or there. He played the Dolphins last year, but I didn't really get to analyze. I'm really impressed with Lockett. He took a little step back, but he's a really good player, man. And then there's Metcalf, the freak. I cannot believe that guy would he run a 10-8 in the 100 this year. 6'3", 229. He's really coming along. What a steal late in the second round. He's really coming. He's not Hopkins level, but that's to me, when you look at the receiving core, obviously top heavy Hopkins for Arizona, but then next you have to put Seattle next in receivers. But, this isn't quality group of receivers up and down the division. Then is the defense. And that's like another thing, too. It's like, growing up, it was like West Coast was a little like, soft. It wasn't pounding the football and ferocious defenses. Ronnie Lott was tough, but it was a lot of that West Coast type stuff. But I was really impressed with the play that I saw. It was very physical, very in your face for the most part. Arizona was a little still West Coast style. But, Witherspoon and Reed, great secondary for Seattle with Wagner. They hear the talk now that the middle linebacker has been devalued, because it's so hard to find really good linebackers. But clearly, when you watch the Seattle team, having Wagner being as good as he is a huge asset. And I do agree that in a modern football, it's a lot harder for linebackers. There's just a big ocean between good, very good, and then the rest of the league. And Wagner still carries it. Poona Ford, very stout inside. I like the additions of Dunlap and Alden Smith. Yeah, they're older guys. They're going to come in and play but this is Seattle had a very high impact defense. And adding these little extra pieces is going to go a long way. And one of them might go down early or whatever, but if you can get production from at least one of these guys for like your song and dance contract, very, very tough. And then you look at the Rams. Donald, Ramsey, and Williams. You've got the best player in the league, or obviously the best interior lineman in the league, and possibly the best player in the league. Ramsey, who's the physical guy who can match up on Metcalf, and Williams is the smaller guy who can match up on Lockett. That's a very, very scary set of dudes. And Joseph Day and Reeder, I like them too. So the Rams, man, the Rams have a good defense, a ferocious defense as well. And the thing too, watching the Rams games, it was always like tight. They wasn't able to move it out. It wasn't able to expand that lead where you could like pin your ears back. They were always constantly tight battles. And I think with Stafford, he's going to be able to come in and get ahead. And that's going to create less of a running. The running game, when you're in these close games and there's a lot of run plays, wears defenses down. And it's not only just over the drive or the quarter, the half, the game. Over the course of the season, it takes its toll. That body blows on the defense. And the quicker that an offense can get out in front, the less physical it is on the defense. And in the long term, that really, that helps the defense out staying fresh, because then the defense can pin the ears back and they can get off the field and give it right back to the offense. So I really felt like the Rams got a little tired, but I think Stafford's going to go a long way. 49ers, they're so well built. As much as I don't like the 49ers, like I said, I got a friend who's a 49er fan, and, he'd rub it in my face to the end of time if he wins a Super Bowl before my Dolphins do. And they also beat Marino. But you got to be objective, This is such a well-built team. I know the Trey Lance trade is a bit of a roll of dice. People say had to expend a lot. But this team has been built so well, but eventually it's going to come apart through cap. And those first-round draft picks you might want to hold, you're going to lose that window of opportunity. So they had to go for this. They had to go for this. Because look at this. They got Verrett is finally starting to get. He had a couple of hard years of injury, I think. He's kind of come back. Jimmy Ward's really good. Fred Wagner, my Dolphins were aiming at him, and you guys stole him from me. What a phenomenal pickup. Was that late in the... They got him in... It was time of third round. We got stuck with Baker. It was not bad. But ain't no Fred Warner, man. What a linebacker. And Zach Kerr. Dude, was he 6'2", 330? That guy's like a spark plug. What an excellent interior player. Olmstead, shame, man. Bosa. Guy was such a good player. That injury, though, man, 68 snaps, done. What a terrible, terrible shame. Hopefully he comes back and he's healthy. But you're going down his list, and I like the addition of Maurice Hurst. I don't know why the Raiders got rid of him. I got to investigate that because he was a quality player. A little limited in the run game, but overall, man, very effective. That's a big pickup. So that's a deep team. Obviously you have to look at the Rams and Seattle, but I think 49ers might be the deepest defense in the division. Then you got Arizona. And when I was watching Arizona's games, they weren't able to run the football and be physical on that end. And they weren't so able, they really didn't stop the run too well. The physicality aspects of the other teams in the division really took advantage of Arizona's weaknesses. But the additions, again, like I said, all 4 teams made good additions. J.J. Watt's not J.J. Watt anymore. Maybe he is. Who knows? I don't know. But the trend has been going down. Still, what a quality player. What a quality player. Budda Baker, the addition of Malcolm Butler, that really get a quality corner out there because kind of got a little victimized on occasion. I was very surprised when I looked at your roster how competitive you were against your teams in your division. But Isaiah Simmons, who I really liked in the lead up to the draft 2020. He only had about 400 snaps, and it took him a while to start figuring things out. But despite the struggles, you could see there was growth and spurts, and this guy is a freak. And I love how you guys developed, you brought in now 2 linebackers. Xavier Collins you brought in as well. Big, physical, but yet the ability to cover. This is, and hopefully the growth of Simmons and the addition of J.J. Watt, this is going to make your run defense more stout. I think that was a critical aspect. So again, AZ's it appears to be at that second tier, but, Xavier Collins comes in and he plays, better than his years. Isaiah Simmons takes a step forward. And, you guys could have a very competitive, plus injuries. If you guys are an injury ridden, a couple injuries here or there could change the scope of the defense. But I liked it. I like the direction of the Cardinals. So as you're going through it, man, this is going to be a very, very tough division. And while through most of the categories, Arizona was like down or close to the bottom of the list or at the bottom of the list, I was very impressed with them. They had the same feel of the Bengals, and they're farther along than the Bengals, and they might have been in the same level if Burrows didn't get hit. But you look at the Dolphins division, Jets ain't competing. Dolphins might be competing. You got really 2 teams at the top battling it out. But then when you go over to the AFC North, Browns, they beat the Steelers in the playoffs. Steelers are the Steelers. They're going to be competitive. And Ravens. So, that's 3. That's a strong 3-team division with the if Burrow can get it, that Burrow can get it. But this division is a 3-team division, but Arizona's real close, man. So overall, if I was a fan of the NFC West, I would be proud of my division. It's very debatable that you guys are the premier division class in the NFL. And it makes for the team that comes out. It's true. You're going to be sharpened. You're going to be sharpened. And you're going to look at some of these other teams in the AFC East and some of the NFC, and they're just not going to be as sharpened because it's really going to, you're going to have to be at your best in order to rise out of division. So it's a very exciting division. Hope you enjoyed. This is just a cursory overview, digging into the tape more. I'm going to start digging into the stats more. Really enjoyed watching games for the NFC West, and I'm looking forward to really spending a lot of time with your division this year. It's just very, very, very exciting stuff. So I hope you enjoyed what you saw here. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Want to hear more from you. This is just, like I said, there's a framework, as an outsider coming in. going to dial it in more. And your comments, they can help me dial it in, point me in directions that I missed. Because I really believe in studying. You know, I'm a student in the game. I love to study, you know. I'm almost 50, so it's like, it's not just about my team anymore. I just like the game. So I'd like to hear from you. Again, thank you for staying till the end. Talk to you soon. Be well.